Right, Tottenham Hotspur have agreed a deal to sign Eberechi Eze from Crystal Palace, a target that Arsenal courted for quite a while, and he's off to Thomas Frank's Spurs, which poses the question, if you're an attacker, is that a more exciting prospect right now? I look at Mikel Arteta's Arsenal and he's got a great goalkeeper. He's got a great structure, defensive, rigid system. Heck, he's got good defenders, goal-scoring defenders. They love set pieces. But if you're an attacker, and maybe over time Victor Gyökeres will think, was this the right landing spot for me? We'll see. Do you think, yeah, I'll go to Arsenal? And of course, historically, Arsenal have got like a prestigious history of incredible flair attackers. And, you know, if anything, back in the noughties and then beyond in some of the 2010s, it was like, you know, they cared too much about pretty football and they were a bit too soft, and that's what didn't get them over the line. And then you had clubs like Mourinho's Chelsea that, you know, didn't play beautiful attacking football, but did get over the line and win titles. And it's almost like Mikel Arteta's trying to do that now, like emulate what happened back then, you know, capitalise on set pieces, get a goal ahead, really defend, which is nothing wrong with it. But it does pose the question, is it the exciting, alluring landing spot for an attacker? And, you know, Arsenal fans won't thank me for the comparison, but Tottenham, and of course Tottenham had a little period when they were just constantly finishing above Arsenal under Pochettino and they were scoring loads of goals, they were free scoring. Obviously that was a different time. They've been down in the trenches with Nuno, with Conte, with Mourinho, and a kind of peculiar time with Ange in the end. But I do wonder with Thomas Frank, he's such an intelligent coach, a pragmatist, and a great coach of attackers. Again, I used the examples before of Brentford, of, you know, of course, Tony, Mbermo, who's just gone for 71 million to United. Johan Visser, who's pushing his way out of the club at the moment. They're trying to sell for 60 million quid. Even like Kevin Schade, the youngster, scoring loads of goals at the end of last season. Frank's an excellent coach. Of course, they opened up game week 1 by scoring 3 goals, granted against promoted Burnley, but a promoted Burnley that only conceded 3 goals in the entirety of last season. 3? What am I talking about? 16 goals, excuse me. Spurs scored 3 goals against them. But they have lost their goalkeeper in Trafford to Man City. Context required. You know, if there was one thing about the 3 promoted sides, if someone said who's going to be defending the best, you'd say Burnley, right? Because of that insane record. And Frank's Spurs on the opening day just scored loads of goals. And on that as well, speaking about like getting the best out of attackers, being a good coach of forwards, Richarlison scored a brace, including an absolute belter of an acrobatic, was it bicycle kick, scissor kick, something? It was a nice goal, wasn't it? Lovely finish. And it would not surprise me at all if he had a really good season and Frank got the best out of him. So, by the way, welcome back to Football Yannick. How's it going? As you can see, just attacking my violin there. As you can see, back in the living room today, I film all over the gas. It's just nice being out of the office in different rooms. Anyway, daily content here on the channel, so I'm really appreciative of you joining me. Thanks for supporting the content. You could do so by liking the video, subscribing. We are actually, let me just have a quick look, because we are really doing well to close in on 20,000 subs, which is my target for the summer. When does the summer end? Is it end of August? I guess so. I mean, I need 511 more. You get a bit of summer in September, right? Anyway, thank you for liking and subscribing. So the story is, of course, about Eberechi Eze. I'm just going to read you a tweet or an X post from Ben Jacobs. Tottenham have reached an agreement with Crystal Palace for Eberechi Eze, and of course Palace need to find a replacement. Now, Palace are having the good times. They won the FA Cup. They qualified for Europe. Of course, they got demoted into the Conference League. They appealed it to CAS. It was rejected, so they're not going to be playing in Europa, which would have been more money. Dreamland, which would have been a real, genuine opportunity to win the Europa. If frickin' that Tottenham team last season could win it, this Crystal Palace could absolutely have won it. And then they'd get the Champions League, you know, insane money. So they'd be very frustrated with not getting that. But so yeah, they probably don't have as much money as they wanted to, and they probably realise they will lose Mark Guehi on a free. I think it's unlikely he leaves now because the reports are, or some reports are suggesting that he wants to stay, play week in, week out at Palace, maybe play, in the Conference League, and keep his England place in a World Cup year. He's in the sweet spot of his age of his career. He could probably play another World Cup, Guehi, but he probably feels like this is the one. I have my own concerns about Tuchel's England at the moment, but Guehi's a sensational player, so he's probably thinking, let's just keep it, because if I go to Liverpool, do I immediately start over Van Dijk or Konate? Probably not. I'd rather just keep to the status quo, get into that World Cup squad, and then loads of teams are going to want me as a free transfer the following summer. So that would kind of make a lot of sense for the young man. Maybe Palace see that. I know Parish, the chairman guy, was trying to kind of openly flog Guehi or welcome bids because he knows they're going to lose him on a free, and they could probably get £40 million for him now, which is huge amounts of money. So maybe I'm speculating here and I'm theorising, but maybe there's an understanding, yeah, he's going to go on a free. What can we do? Let's make a bunch of money now. Eze's running hot. He'll cost a lot of money. Let's just sell him to Spurs. So he wants to go there. I was hoping he didn't play against Chelsea. I mean, they didn't score in the end, and it was down to Chelsea's lack of offensive ability to score a goal against Palace. So it was more the likes of Guehi than an Eze that screwed us over, with that free kick being ruled out, of course. And that was, it would look like a goodbye. He got subbed off. They thought it was a weird sub, but I actually think it was an opportunity from Glasner for him to get like a standing ovation from the away fans. It did seem like a bit of a goodbye, a chance to see him play for them one last time in what was a great point at Stamford Bridge for them. And he's off to Spurs. So look, let's be real. I have spoken about this quite recently. He suits Spurs way more than he does Arsenal, because at Tottenham, Kulusevski's currently not available, Maddison's out for probably most of the season, and they've got a huge hole in that creative attacking midfielder role, which Eberechi is perfect for. Arsenal fans have been courting him for ages, and he would have made Arsenal better. If Mikel Arteta truly isn't going to play a touchline winger on the left, and he's going to play a player that can come inside. Noni Madueke can do that a little bit, although he is a chalk on his boots winger, and preferably on the right, do you know what I mean? So we'll see what happens there. I mean, maybe there was a real intelligent system where Eze does start in a free, a front three, and he's coming inside a little bit more, and Saka's really holding the width, and then maybe a Calafiori's coming on the left and holding width, and maybe there was a grand plan there. And ultimately, Arsenal just their attack doesn't look great at the moment, and maybe there was a plan to get Eze in, and he was like, well, we don't need a proper winger, we need an Eze, an inside left forwards. In that case, prime target. But he's going to Tottenham, so it is a little bit like he snubbed Arsenal, and he's off to the Tottenham Hotspur. And on that, I must say, as a Chelsea fan, I'm a little bit worried about Tottenham. I mean, look, it's good to have a good Tottenham in the league. Do you know what I mean? Like a competitive Tottenham. It kind of feels better when you beat them because they're good. Do you know what I mean? It did get a little bit like, well, we're definitely going to beat Angers Tottenham. But now it's a bit like, ooh, okay, they are good again. I do have a huge amount of respect for Thomas Frank. And I just think he's going to make them a proper outfit. And the fact how they've made, a few signings, Paulinho in midfield, I think I know he's only loan at the moment, possibly with an obligation. I think he is a serious player, firstly, and their midfield's already way more functional. I think with the structure and defensive setup of Frank's football, someone like Pedro Porro you can get all the high value out of his offensive, profile, if you will. But the team will defend a little bit more, and it's not going to be like flying fullbacks and space in behind. I think it's going to be an intelligent structure. It'll be horses for courses. It'll hit you on the break sometimes. I think Tottenham are going to score more goals than Arsenal this season. That's even with Victor Gyökeres, as they're calling him, up top. That's an early prediction. Maybe Saka starts popping off. I've heard plenty of people speculate that Havertz will become the first choice forward for Arsenal sooner rather than later. And then they'll just use Gyökeres as a sort of plan B to run in behind. A Liam Delap to our Joao Pedro, should we say, at Chelsea. It would be like, the way Joao Pedro starts and links up play. Although Arteta does look to Havertz to be a little bit sometimes as a head on a stick. I know he scored a great goal in pre-season, Havertz, on the counter-attack, and he's put on a bit of bulk and, clearly athletic, and that will serve him really well in the Prem. But I don't know, man. I see a lot of frustration with Arsenal fans. Just online now, there's there's real negative feeling about the fact how, he's gone. Eze's gone to Tottenham, they're rivals, and he's not gone to them. I'll understand that. That would be frustrating for me as well. And because they need something, don't they? So they got Gyökeres. He was the main target. We'll see if he works or not. And then they were desperately calling out for that left-sided attacker, and they signed Noni Madueke from Chelsea in a deal worth £52 million. Noni's a great player. He's probably got quite a high ceiling. I don't think he's got that lower floor either. Like, he rarely has stinkers. He probably should be starting over Martinelli on the left, just even out of position. But it's that amount of money on that player in terms of what you need. It seems crazy. It's not. Madueke makes Arsenal better. It's not up for dispute. So they'll be happy to have him. But I understand the frustrations in terms of, real glaring weaknesses. But the main weakness was the striker, and they got him. I think Norgaard's a great signing. I think Mosquera, the defender, looks good. Kepa's a great backup goalkeeper. They haven't had the worst window, but there is that glaring weak spot on the left where, Martinelli can run in behind, but you really need someone like a Saka that can, stop the play, slow it down. And, the way two people go on, when you double man mark Mo Salah, Bukayo Saka, Cole Palmer, the person on the left of Arsenal, they're like, yeah, whatever. And that's the problem. If it was Eze, even if he plays slightly more in the pocket, they would have doubled up on him 1,000%. He demands that kind of respect, and that's kind of what Arsenal wanted. Anyway, let me know what you think. Comment down below. Thank you for liking and subscribing. And I hope to see you back here. Peace.